the Mossad agents, thereby delivering to King Hussein bargaining chips. King Hussein was able to demand, in deliberate humiliation of Benjamin Netanyahu, the release of Hamas prisoners from Israeli prisons, and also he put the word on Bill Clinton, then US President, to force Netanyahu to hand over to the Jordanians the secret poison and an antidote.
What about what Israel is saying right now, this, quote, policy of ambiguity, why they will not respond, and the international outcry, especially with Britain right now?
What you have to do is go back to January 20, the day this killing took place, and in the days afterwards, what you had was the typical Israeli response to a typical Israeli espionage success. It is neither confirmed nor denied, but authoritative commentators and spokespeople in the Israeli establishment are wheeled out to say, not that the Mossad did it, but wasn't it a good job? Wasn't it clever? Did you notice how brilliant it was? And the world is a better place because the victim of the attack is gone. Now, that little process took place in January before this thing started to backfire. And now that that it is backfiring, what you have is, oh, we have a policy of ambiguity. Now, the fact that they're offering a policy of ambiguity in the face of such an embarrassment is almost as good as confirmation, you would think. And also a line used by the Israeli foreign minister when he was asked about it, rather than deny it outright, what he said was, there is no evidence that it was the Mossad. Now, that also is almost as good as confirmation. And if you hold the involvement of the Mossad up against the other conspiracy theories floating around, I would put Mossad in the slot as number one.
And what about the British government's response to the use of its passports in this way, in a clear assassination in another country?
This is a very serious issue. I mean, passports are sacrosanct documents issued by governments to protect their citizens while traveling and to facilitate their travel. A lot of British people, a lot of Irish people, a lot of Europeans travel regularly in the Middle East on business or as tourists. And the notion that you could become a suspected killer merely because you're carrying the passport of your own government is quite frightening. A Canadian diplomat who I interviewed at the time of the attempt on Khalid Mashal's life, when the Israelis used Canadian passports, the way he put it to me was, look, this is so bad, it is so dangerous, because what can happen is a Canadian passport issued in the name of Fred Nurk is used in an operation like this in Jordan, and any Fred Nurk living in the city of Winnipeg could open his door to a knock and there'd be a gunman there who wants to kill him.
And
so
this was Israeli citizens. And the names used were Israeli citizens who had their identity stolen.
Yes, the way it was explained to me when I was researching Kill Khalid was that often what happens is the Israeli authorities borrow passports momentarily as people go through immigration, entering or leaving Israel, and skim the details of them. But another thing that happens is, given the number of Jews from other parts of the world, other countries who migrate to Israel, they have dual citizenship, they have American passports, they have Canadian, British passports, whatever. Now, one of the things that happens is quite a few of those people are given, if you like, an informal test of their loyalty to the State of Israel, and in the form of a request for their passport to be borrowed for a time. There was an amazing case, again in the aftermath of the Mishal incident, where a Canadian came forward to the Canadian authorities and confessed that in 1996 he had actually let the Israeli authorities borrow his passport. In the aftermath of the Mishal incident, the Israelis apologized profusely to Canada and promised that they would not use Canadian passports again. But weeks later, this same Canadian had a knock on his door from what he described as a front for the Mossad. He was asked, could they borrow his new passport, and could they also fly his daughter to Ottawa to apply for a new passport and then fly her back to Israel, and could they borrow that passport too?
The quote in the Jerusalem Post of Melvin Mildiner, who had moved to Israel 9 years ago, he said, I have no idea how to clear my name. His was one of the names used. He said, Interpol has a warrant out for my arrest. I don't know how I will travel. I went to bed with pneumonia. I woke up a murderer. A last question, very quickly, Paul Magot. How does this fit into Israel-Palestinian politics and the significance of Mahmoud Mabou?
Well, perhaps more significant than the significance of the dead man is 2 living Palestinians who were arrested in Jordan and handed over by the Jordanians to the Dubai authorities. The only 2 alleged perpetrators of this murder that the Dubai authorities hold are 2 Palestinians who, it seems, according to reports coming out of Gaza, previously worked for the Mahmoud Abbas, that's the Fatah Palestinian Authority controlled security services, who are so anti-Hamas. It means that within the politics of the Palestinian community, you have the makings of a very serious and very nasty charge of collaboration on the part of Mahmoud Abbas or those around him in terms of the extent to which they might have been helping the Israelis to eliminate a Hamas cadre.
Paul Magot, we want to thank you very much for being with us, Chief Correspondent for the Sydney Morning Herald in Australia, speaking to us from Washington, D.C. His book is called Kill Khalid, the failed Mossad assassination of Khalid Mashal and the rise of Hamas. This is Democracy Now!, democracynow.org, The War and Peace Report. We'll be back in a minute.